Wilhelmsen. I'm here today to give you an art lesson and teach you how to paint with the watercolors for another lesson here. And I'm going to show you what you need before we get started. Okay, I have a pencil. I have my watercolor palette here. Watercolor, I have a lot of colors. You might just have the primaries, which is fine. Okay, I have my brushes. I have 3 brushes. I have a small, medium, and a large. Large one is a number 12, a number 10, and a number 8. And these are like watercolor soft bristle brushes. All right. We have a cup of water. Most important is the tablet, the pad, the watercolor pad. I use 140 weight, which is heavy, very heavy weight. It'd probably be better if you could get that, but it's not that important. And I have a paper towel, or you can use a white rag, and I have a little 12-inch ruler, which you're only going to use once, but if you have a straight edge, that's fine. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is a watercolor of a New England lighthouse. I found this to be a very popular lesson when I was giving it live to students. So we're going to start out with drawing, very basic drawing. It's not too difficult, so if you follow me with this, I will be able to. First, we're going to mark right in the middle here, on the top, in the middle, approximately. I'm going to draw a mark there on the top, and a mark on the bottom of the paper, on the pad, which is your vertical, and horizontally on the left side. I put it right in the middle here on the left side, and on the right side. Okay, so now for my straight edge, my ruler, I'm going to draw a line between them, one horizontal line. Okay, and then on the vertical, I'll be drawing a line up and down there. Okay, now on the lower left quarter, we're going to go from the halfway mark to the bottom. I'm going to go again halfway in the middle there, make a mark. Okay? And then on the top, we're only concerned with this left side. On the top, between the middle mark you made and the top of the pad, is going to be another, right in the middle there, mark. Okay? So now we have the horizon line here, and that's where the sea is going to be here, the ocean. That's what we're using for that. All right, so what we're doing here is on this halfway mark on the left side, I'm going to go all the way across over about halfway into this lower right corner. So we're going to make a curve going all the way over and down, and that is this up here, the land that the lighthouse is sitting on. So we started over on the left side going down into the middle there, and we have that. Now what we're going to be doing here is, in the distance here, we're going right in the middle here, and what we're going to do is we're going to make this distant land here, just a free form, nothing really important there, and that's going to be that distant one. Okay, right here in the foreground we have these stones, these rocks that are coming out on the grass hill, and I'm just going to make like a half of an oval shape, another half of an oval shape. They don't have to be perfect, free form, and another one a little smaller. All right, we have these 3 stones here, as you see up there. Okay, now we're going to be focusing on drawing that lighthouse. I'm going to grab my ruler here, a little straight edge, and what we want to do again is between the middle line here, in the middle, the vertical one, and the top, we're going to go right in the middle here somewhere, just roughly in the middle, and draw a dot there. Okay, so that's going to be your lighthouse, the bottom of the lighthouse, and we're going to go to the hill here. So what I want to do is go over like about an inch on the bottom on the right side, and over on an inch on the left side from this middle line. And what we're going to do here is on the top, only going to go a ½ inch over here and a ½ inch over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my lighthouse here, and Okay, and then I'm going to join it right here at the top. All right, now in the top part here, we're going to come in a little bit in here and a little bit on that side, and I'm going to draw a square. I'm doing it freehand, but you can use your ruler doing that, and a 1/2 inch square, okay, box. All right, and then we're going to put a cone on the top of it. Got it? Should look like that for now. Okay, now what I have up here is I rounded it out a little bit, so what we're going to do is we're going to round that out, curve it now, so you had a guideline there. All right, and the same with the cone, we're going to round that out. Okay, now what we have here is we have some other additions here. We have these shrubs on the base of the lighthouse, and we're going to go halfway at the bottom here of the lighthouse and where the horizon line is, and we start there and just make these cloud shapes freeform for the shrubs, and on the other side again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's your shrubs. Okay, now what we're doing here is, with these are waves crushing, easy. I just have a oval egg shape here coming up, and just go, and not completing that, and then the next one is an oval egg shape, and these are waves, okay, coming up. All right, so now your drawing should be complete with the lighthouse, the sea, the mountains in the background, the landmass in the background, the lighthouse itself. Now just a few details in this lighthouse. I have a couple little windows on the right side here, little squares, okay, and they're going down on the right side of the lighthouse. Okay, so I'm just taking the edge of my pencil. I'm going to be erasing some of these lines here, what I got, that are inside the lighthouse. And what you're going to do is, I'm more concerned with the lighthouse lines being erased on the bottom here, because that's what we're going to see. It's pure white. We're using the white of the paper for the white of the lighthouse. Okay, so we're ready to start our lesson with the paint. So if you have your palette, what I'd like you to do is, what I'm going to do is I put my largest brush, the number 16, and I'm just going to start by putting the water into each color. I wash it out. As I touch each color, I wash it out so it doesn't mix with another color. And I'm wetting these paints. Some of you might have liquid paints that are wet already, but I have dry ones here that I'm wetting. I'm going around double checking them, making sure I got them. Okay, so I wet all the paints, they're ready, and I'm sticking this back down here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with a light color blue for the sky. So what I'm going to do here is I'm taking just the wet water, and I'm washing the top of the paper here. It might run down because it's vertical. I think the best situation is, if you are painting with the watercolor pad, is to have it on a table where it's flat. But I'm telling you another thing here is that my paper towel helps. If I get any running, I just dab it with the paper towel, which blots it up. See, now it's running down. I'm just doing the top half I'm concerned with for now. You see my painting up there, the top half? Now I'm going to dip it into the light blue here. The light blue. All right. I'm putting some in here in the middle. This is my mixing area of the palette. I got a nice deep color there of the light blue. You might just have ultramarine blue, that's fine. And I'm going across. Okay, you see it's dragging over here. I add some more water on my brush. And I'm putting it all up here. Now I wash out my brush and it's dab it on the paper towel, and now I'm going to blend this only at the very bottom of that blue. I'm blending it in there and I'm getting a nice transition. Okay. Dabbing it on my paper towel again. I want to just make that transition a little smoother over there. Okay. Now the next part here, we're going to use the blue for the ocean, for the sea there. Alright, so I'm going back to my blue, and what I'm going to do there is I'm going to add it and make a lot of blue in the middle of my palette here. If you have a plate, like a paper plate or plastic plate, you can do that. I'm just going to go into the horizon line here. I'm going to go right here over the bottom and go around all those shrubs. Alright, I'm going to do one side at a time here with it. Alright. And I'm filling that all in. Okay. This is on the left side. Oh, look at that. See, now this is what happens. I can use my paper towel and I can wipe it up. It's good to have it in your hand, keeping it handy there. And you can just touch up anything that's dripping or running. Go again. Whoops, this one's very wet. I'm going to dab it on my paper towel. Make sure it's not going to run all over the place. Being the pad is up here, the watercolor pad is at a vertical angle, I have to be careful and control it more, but if you have yours flat on the table, your pad, it's a lot easier. I'm just doing this to show you. And here we go. So I laid down this first color of blue for the ocean. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to the green here on the hill. All right. So what I'm doing is I have my mixing area here. I wipe out with the paper towel. So I love watercolors so much. It's so easy to handle. I take yellow. Okay, yellow we're going to use first. So get your yellow on the brush there. Everything should be wet. All the colors should be wet. And you're going to do the top of the hill here with the yellow. And then going around those stones, those rocks. If you got it in the rock, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. Then we're going to paint them another color brown. We're going to get into the green now. The yellow we first start out. Now with the green, I have a medium green here. And I'm blending it into my yellow. So let me show you. Had the yellow and I put the green in with that. So now the next transition is I'm going to leave the top part of the yellow there on my hill. And I'm going to go around those stones, those rocks. Oops. And I'm going up here. Yes, that's still wet, that yellow, so it blends really nice. All right, I'm going to wash my brush. I'll wash my brush and dab it on the paper towel here. And I'm going to let that blend a little bit more. The brush has no paint on it. I blend the yellow with the green, and I'm going to go a little darker down here. And I'm going to get the green, and I'm going to add my blue to it. So now down here, you get a nice deeper color, green, when I mix green with the blue. All right, so you see that transition there? So we got all this we worked on, and the ocean should be dry by now. I'm going to go up to the, I'm going to wipe out my palette here, and we're going to do a shadow on the lighthouse next, and then the distant the distant land formation over there. So now what I have to do here is I'm mixing a little bit of blue on my palette. I'll show you. Blue, and I have a brown. For those who don't have brown, add just some red. All right, red with the blue, it'll be fine. Now I have a pretty deep color there, right? I'm washing that out, adding water to it, so it's like a washed out gray I'm getting. Now what I did with this, the lighthouse up here, the shadow, is I came across, you could do it straight or whatever. I go under the lighthouse here. I'm still using my large brush because these are larger areas. And we're coming down like a ½ an inch on this. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slope down with that all the way across. See? Slope it down. And now filling in the right side of the lighthouse with this shadow. And we're getting the shadow, it's a white lighthouse, so we have a gray shadow. All right. Now I'm going to use that same gray in the distant hills here, the distant land over there. It's very faded out on the horizon. And we're doing that. So it's a little bit too much water there. There we go. And you see what I'm doing with the gray. All right, now we're going to also use the gray on these waves. They look sort of like lumps, but we're going to give them a little more character. So up on the top part of that wave, you can just fill in the top part, go down to the middle, and put the gray in. And leave the very top part white. Okay, yeah, so we have the gray. We're going to keep layering over colors in certain areas. That's the beauty of watercolor. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to go back to the top of the lighthouse here, which is like a little red. You'll see up there, a little cone, and this space down here. So I'm going to add it to my gray, because I want to have like a weathered looking red. And I'm mixing it into my palette here. Now I'm going to put just a little bit on my thing here. I'm going to wash this out. I'm going to use my smaller brush here. I'll put this over here. I have a medium, I have a smaller one, the number 8. The number 8, number 10, and number 12. This is number 8 I'm using. I'm taking all the water out of my brush. I washed it and putting it on my pad. Now I'm going to do the cone. Now this is really washed out, but it gives me like a sense of how much color I got to add now. I add a little more red to it. All right, and I'm going to do back down here. Now I'm going to do half of that top, the lookout area where the light shines, and we're just doing a little bit on the bottom half of it. And then the top cone, I'm going to go again over with my red, and I'm doing that like that. When you first put watercolor on the paper, it seems brighter, then it starts fading away. It absorbs into the paper. All right. Now this gray here, still a little damp. While I have this still drying, I'm going to work on these shrubs. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to use my small brush. I got to take the red out of the mixing area there. Okay, I'm going to take my, I'm going to fold this over again. I'm going to take my yellow, put it into the mixing area there. Wash my brush, put it into the green. And I have a nice light green, and add just a little water to make it a little thinner, and I'm going to go in here. Okay, these are the top of the shrubs, okay, that are at the base of the lighthouse. Alright, see, I have more control with the smaller brush. One side like that. And now I'm going to mix up a little more, get the yellow, and the green. Here we go. I'm going to be doing the other side here. And then, before this dries, I'm going to add to that light mixture, I'm going to get the blue in there. And it's going to be a deep little blue and a little green. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in here, this lower part of those shrubs. And then I'll come back and I'll blend it with my brush. The nice thing about watercolor is even if it dries, you can go back with a wet brush and it'll loosen up the paint. And it will, I'm adding more blue here to give it darker. Now you can, if the paint dries, you can come back and use a clean brush full of a damp brush that's clean, and you can lift up colors from it. This one here, I'm just going to blend it in here a little bit, make it a little bit wetter, and I can blend that. Okay, so I feel it has a little bit more character to it. All right, so I'm going to do these stones. The stones, I'm going to take the green out of my palette here, and I'm going to make a brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a red. Let's mix colors here. A red and a green. We're going to get a muddy color there, okay? A red and green. All right, now I'm going to use a wash there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put that in there. First stone, second stone, and then I'm going to use a little blue on this, and we're going to do some of that work in the waves there. Give that a little bit of character. Little blue, I added to the brown. I can't lift this up too much. My colors are now wet in there. Going to go all over the place. All right, so the top, very top of it, what I'm doing is these, with this small brush, is I'm doing these strokes. See that? Like they're diagonal. And we're doing that now, and then we're going to come back and what I'm going to do is I'm washing out this brush. I'm going to go back to my bigger brush, here the largest one, make it nice and wet again, wipe it down with the paper towel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend this in here, a little more water on there, blend it in on the bottom part here. Okay, and on the top part a little bit. So you have a softness there. Now, I got that, I'm going back to my small brush again. And the small brush, I'm going to use that brown mixture, bluish brown. I got to get some more of it, bluish brown. So red and green and a little bit of blue. Now I'm going to make these splashes on the edge of the waves here. You see how I just dropped them in there? Just dabs of water in the front of the waves, like they're crushing the rocks. All right. And then what I'm going to do is just add more color here. Swishes like that. Swishes like that. Okay, taking the water off, it's clean. Take some of those drops off of there before they run. All right, so now we're going to go back up to the clubhouse. I'm going to get a little bit more gray in there. Brown and blue. I got a real strong color of gray. I don't want that. I want to wash out the gray. I don't want too dark. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do under the lighthouse here on the very top. I'm coming down a little bit. There's like a ring there that I'm going to be going just below in here. Let me get my color a little darker so you can see it. Okay, this is where I'm putting it, right up here. Okay, following the curve. All right, and I'm going to come down here and I'm putting another curve here just below, and I'm going to do these little windows. All right, and now what I'm going to do is up here I'm going to go halfway down on the glass, on the top of the lighthouse glass. Half of it is going to be gray, like a shadow, and then On this, I'm putting a little bit of a railing. This is going to be like a little bit hard for you guys. If you don't want to do it, you can do it in pencil. Just railing there. And the shadow on the top here. All right, and there on the red. Now I'm going to dip my brush, wash it out, dip it in the water, and I'm going to soften this a little bit. And this up here, softening some edges. I'm going to put a little bit of a detail up here under the cone. So, and then a little dot at the very top there. And let's see, we have a couple more spots to touch up. We're going to work on those stones. I'm taking that gray and putting it at the base of the stone and on the right side, because the light is coming from the left here, the sun. So we're putting the shadow on the right side of the stone, on each stone here. Okay. And I'm putting that on the right side. Okay, those waves a little bit more, get a little bit more brown in there. Okay, and then last but not least, I'm going to get the big brush, I'm going to do a little more blue on the sea there, on the ocean. I'm leaving the gray, I'm going to add blue to it. So it's going to have a lot of blue, adding more water to the bluish gray. All right, I'm going to come up here and put 1, 2, 3, and over here, all the way across, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to wash out my brush and I'm going to dab, taking all that and just going to be damp. And I don't want it to run. Okay, picking up any of that water there. All right, I think we have our finished picture. I have these little marks on the grass there. I'm adding this grayish blue mixture and adding a little green to it. And on the bottom of the hill here, we got these little bit highlights of the grass going here. These patches of grass. All right. And maybe a little bit of, in the shrubs there, I'm going to add some more grayish green to it, okay? We got them in here. Especially on that side. All right. Wash my brush, blend it a little bit. And I think we have our painting there. So just remember, use your paper towel. If everything's dripping and that, you can blot it up with that. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson today. Thank you.